Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I am Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow spy and co-host.
Do I use my real name or
That's the question, honestly.
I'm gonna go with Mike Cunningham for now.
Oh,
For now.
spicy. There you go. And we are the Meddling Kids, and we like to review movies. And today we'll be reviewing Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's a fancy way of saying one for those that may not know. But for those of you joining for the first time, welcome. For those of you coming back, it's great to see you again, or you can see us and hear us. I'd love to see you. But I'm going to go over a quick thing of rules. We will never spoil anything for the first 5 to 15 minutes of our podcast. We'll give you a spoiler-free review from a scale of 0 to 5. From there, we'll then start spoiling things, but we'll always let you know first. But 0 to 5 review, Mike, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Are you ready?
4. Straight out the
4.
gate. So
Hell yeah, that was affirmative. It was
I
both.
I'm realizing now, because we talked about it yesterday, kind of obviously for some reason, sometime last year, I did run through 1 through 6. Unfortunately, maybe this is before Paramount, or Paramount doesn't have all of the licensing to all the movies, so it wasn't just one straight shot like watching the Harry Potter series or something like that. I had to hop around. But anyway, I feel like the quality of these films have either stayed consistent or gotten better from since the original. Like we were talking to somebody yesterday, he was saying how the original still holds up. And then, like I was saying, my favorite is number 3, but I think I just really enjoyed Philip Seymour Hoffman's performance. I mean, he was a great actor in general, but I think him as a villain, really shined. I think because even with the villain in this one, he wasn't as menacing
Yeah, he was kind of sharp.
as you would expect. Kind of, I mean, at least he was competent, obviously, but he wasn't as menacing as Philip Seymour Hoffman was. But yeah, so I think with these movies, it seems like they're all for the most part. I would give them all about 4s or something like that. Like you can rank them how you want to, and obviously, when this director came on and started directing them, you did see a different. It shifted in how the storytelling was told, and he upped the ante with the stunts, and as he continued. But yeah, so I think this one just follows along with the quality that's been going on for the past 10 years, I guess. So definitely a 4. The action set pieces were great. Some of the, and we talked about this, some of the chase scenes, or some of the scenes just in general did kind of go on for too long. I think just the one chase scene in Rome, no spoilers, obviously, but
Well, now they know where they were, and they know there was a chase scene. Come on, Mike. I mean, you're just spoiling left and right here.
well, now they can't watch the end of the film. But yeah, I think some chase. I mean, and we said the same thing about John Wick earlier this year. We're just like at times some of these action set pieces, though amazing, and you love the stunt choreography and the dedication that goes into putting this on screen. They do linger a bit, right? So it's not as impactful as you would hope. But outside of that, I think obviously the performances were great. The story was a lot easier to follow. I feel like some of these spy films in general, I'm not even just putting it in Mission Impossible, but with the fact that it's international, so like there's languages or certain customs I'm not accustomed to, a lot of names and things like that, where oftentimes I'm lost and it's a spy film, so obviously there's a double crossing, a triple crossing, I was never on your side. It was the confusion and the complexities of alliances oftentimes throws you off. But I think this one was very straightforward. You knew who the enemy was, you knew who the good guys were, and their motivations. Obviously, because they're human, and there's complexity in that. Some of the choices that some of the characters made in this kind of went against the grain, but I mean they're human, so that makes sense. But yeah, so I enjoyed very much everything about this. It looked great. I think the stunt this time, obviously he keeps going up. The stunt this time was really cool. I think I have nothing really bad to say about it. Obviously, the runtime was a bit long, I think, but I think that maybe just a tribute to the fact that one or two of the action set pieces ran too long, and towards the end it was just like they're building anticipation. Obviously, like it's the climax of Act 3, but since we know it's a part 1, it kind of was lost on me because I'm just like, what's the point of this peril? Like, unless you're gonna leave it on a cliffhanger, there's no need to really be putting these characters in these situations that you know they're going to, or you assume they're going to get out of, right? Because there is a part 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, that was really my only real complaint. So outside of those things, I really enjoyed this film. Definitely, I think I'm liking how Tom Cruise he's bringing people back to the theater with his films. Because obviously, I mean, you can watch movies at home now. We've seen that through the pandemic, and obviously even before that. But I think he's putting out a product that, like, oh, you really want to be sitting in a theater to see this, like that cinematic experience. And that's what I enjoy. That's why I love going to the movies. You don't get the same thing if you're watching it at home. So I think I can appreciate Tom Cruise for doing that as well. So 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 from Mike. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 for now, but knowing full well that I might raise it later. I think it was a good movie. It was very solid. I think I liked the major enemy, like the human antagonist. I guess, yeah, he wasn't necessarily the most menacing, but he was kind of a charming devil. He was kind of a charming devil.
But that's that actor though. That's just him.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, he could have swept me off my feet. All I'm saying, he comes in, he hands me a drink, says, "Let's get out of here." I'm like, I'll think about it. No, but so the human antagonist was charming. The other antagonist of this movie I thought was a really cool antagonist, especially considering like the time we live in right now. So that was fun. I did find the movie somewhat predictable, and I did find the movie a little long at times. Like, literally, when we were going into, like, the last act or the last scene, I thought the movie was going to be over. I was like, cool, this is a great place to wrap this movie. Let's go home and see part 2. And no, the movie went on for, like, another 30 minutes. And I was like, all right, well, I kind of didn't need that extra 30 minutes in the movie to get that same delivery. But I think there were some really cool characters. I saw an actress in a new light that I haven't seen. She wasn't wearing antennae in this one, and she did phenomenal. That was great. But as a whole,
spoilers. Apparently, there's no antenna people in this movie.
Yeah, like it's messing with my brain a little bit. But no, I mean, it was again a 3 out of 5 for me is like that's a solid, entertaining movie that I enjoyed. Right, like yeah, so. 3 out of 5 is a good rating for this movie, I think, or in general for movies. And I liked it. I thought it was good besides everything I complained about earlier. It does kind of just, it's a lot of... I mean, you see it literally all the time of like, all right, here are like these 2 parts of things we need to get into and go, without spoiling anything, but it's like a lot of like chasing, a lot of like hunting stuff down, like the fetch mission movies, like there's so many movies where it's like, okay, really what we're doing is we're going to go and fetch this and then come back. So like Indiana Jones, the Star Wars, Rise of the Skywalker, like a lot of those like
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it's a very common thing where it's like, okay, well we need to find this thing and what can we find as we go along, which does take a little bit, I guess it just gets a little repetitive and that's why it kind of was predictable. But either way, it was an entertaining movie and there were some great stunts that were happened. I will say, I'm a little biased against Tom Cruise, but I think even that is not affecting my score. I think he did great. And so did everyone else in this movie too. And like, I love Simon Pegg. So, honestly, that kind of evens out. My dislike for Tom Cruise is, evened out by my like for Simon Pegg. So we're good. And again, I mean, no one can deny that Tom Cruise is a very, very talented man. But yeah, and he's got a great robot run. So yeah. So for now, 3.5 out of 5 coming from me, 4 out of 5 coming from Mike. I would say, yeah, that means go see it in theaters. It's worth seeing in theaters. All those stunts and everything, it's great. And that is, I mean, yes, it's so easy to just see things at home now, but we should try to see these movies in theaters to make sure that they keep making these movies for theaters as well. And that's something I would love because I have unlimited tickets now, so I'm trying to go to lots of movies, y'all. But let's get into some background. So still no spoilers yet, but we're going to talk things about what other critics are saying right now, the actors and actresses that are involved, budget, that kind of thing. Mike, what do we got?
Okay, so Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 was released on July 12, 2023. The runtime is 2 hours and 43 minutes. The budget was a staggering $290 million.
Okay.
But yeah, I just checked this out before we jumped on. So the box office for this weekend, and obviously it's still mid
Mm.
Sunday. I usually try to wait till after 10, but it's not that serious. So it's looking like for the first week, and domestically it made 80 million,
Okay.
um,
Mhm.
which isn't terrible because of the fact that I just looked it up. So like outside of the three Disney movies that came out, so
Mm.
your Little Mermaids, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Ant-Man, which all made about um, between 95 and 150 million
Okay.
in their opening weekends, and then the Spider-Verse movie and Super Mario, which made a lot more in
Mhm.
100, 30 and 50 million dollar range. This making 80 was like this is like the number six movie, the
Okay.
number six highest box office opening for 2023. So that's not
Oh, that's number
terrible,
6. Okay.
you
Yeah.
know.
Fair.
Cause it beat out like what is it Transformers and Fast X. So like a lot of
Mm.
bigger and Indiana Jones and stuff like that. So like not a terrible opening
Okay.
for this. And then for the worldwide gross, this is crazy. It's 235 million.
Okay, so they passed their budget. They're good then.
Yeah.
Or the
No, no, no,
worldwide
almost.
growth. That includes. Got you. Yeah, I was thinking everywhere else but the U.S. But cool. So almost there, and not bad. Yeah. I mean, Tom
Yeah.
Cruise. He's an action hero in literally in the entire world. So I think everyone, will go and
And
become
I
an.
think it's also, I mean, it's the formula that the Fast and Furious franchise uses. If you go abroad, it does open you up to other markets,
For sure.
right? So that's the beauty of having the spy thriller, right? It's this one starts in Russia and then goes to Amsterdam and then
Hmm.
France and DC, like it's all over the place. But that helps you as far as your different audiences because for some reason your international audience does need to see, I guess, themselves in the film. So like seeing some place that you visited or something like that does help.
Yeah.
The Rotten Tomato score right now is a 96 for critics and a 95 for audience. So
Yeah.
I think everybody's really loving this. The genre is action, adventure, thriller. The director is Christopher McQuarrie, who also directed Mission Impossible 5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
Sorry, 5 and 6, and then he'll
Yeah.
also be
And this is
directing the
7.
next one, number 8.
Yeah.
And then he also, because he's worked a lot with Tom Cruise, like Jesus Christ, he directed Jack Reacher,
Okay.
he wrote for Edge of Tomorrow and The Mummy and Valkyrie,
Boo.
which was
Boo. The Mummy. Way to mess up a good franchise. That's part of the reason why I don't like Tom Cruise, y'all, is because he messed up that franchise. But whatever. That's me.
all right. I think Tomb of the Dragon Emperor did that just
Well,
on its
Jim the
own.
Dragon Emperor was trash. Don't get me wrong, but they were trying to do this whole thing, and then Tom Cruise came in and did a bunch of rewrites and made the Mummy movie all about him instead of other stuff because he's a huge action star and worth way more money than I am. But from what I've heard, he kind of has an ego, and I think that kind of came out a little bit for when he fucked up the Mummy and then got messed up the whole monster franchise universe. But whatever.
All right. And this guy also produced on Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
And then he wrote. This was a surprising one for me. He wrote for the Usual Suspects.
Oh, that's cool.
It's interesting. It was crazy. Yeah. So the cast is Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. You have Simon Pegg as Benji Dunn. Ving Rhames as Luther. Those are like his. I think those are his companions from like the earlier films. Also, Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust, who was another companion from an earlier film. And then introducing Haley Atwell as Grace. I think she was formerly Captain Carter, Miss Carter from the MCU. Vanessa Kirby as the White Widow. Esai Morales as Gabriel. That's the antagonist in this one. Henry Cerny, I believe, Cerny as Kittredge. Shea Wiggum as Briggs. That was the army guy chasing after him. Palm Clementif, sorry, as Paris. That was Gabriel's kind of right hand and assassin.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Carrie Elways as Denlinger, sorry, the director of the DNI, the director of national intelligence.
Got you. Yeah.
Okay. And that is the information that I have.
Perfect. All right. So before we get into this, I had this thought too, and I remember when I was growing up, my last name is Hunt. So a lot of times when I introduce myself as Edward Hunt, they'd be like, "Oh, like Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible." So that probably colors my reaction to all of this as well. Just throwing that out there, but anyway, no more negativity from me. I'm a positive motherfucker. All right, so now let's get into our play-by-play, but a quick word from our sponsors. One of those being me. Hi, I'm Edward Hunt. You probably have heard this pitch before, but I'm a real estate agent in the DMV. That is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you would like any advice on the market, or you would like great connections with phenomenal contractors or lenders, feel free to reach out to me at any time, and I can connect you. A great thing about Compass is that we're also a nationwide brokerage. So even if you're living in Nevada or Wyoming, I can find you a great Compass agent who works out there, or just a great agent in general. Yeah, and also we have Edward Hunt. I'm the writer for Hunt Comics. That's a little side thing I have going on right now. My first comic was funded on Kickstarter. I'll be putting that online soon. I would love to have everyone read it as soon as it comes along, and you can let me know what you think. Other than that, we're ready to get started with some play-by-play. So this movie picks up, as most spy movies do, in a boring conference room right somewhere, I'm sure, right?
Negative, surprisingly.
What?
Actually,
Okay.
I feel like all of these start with an interesting action
Oh,
set
yeah.
piece.
There's got to be a good cold open. They've got to hook people immediately.
Yeah, but this film opens in the Bering Sea on a submarine, a Russian submarine that is testing the stealth capabilities of this AI system that is housed in the submarine. So we see, I think they get to a certain depth in the submarine, and then they have two guys who have two separate keys, kind of unlock the AI in order to initiate the process or whatever, so that they can they're just testing it to see if any satellites or any other submarines can see them in the water, right? Just testing the stealth capability. And while they're testing it, they see that another sub is somehow is approaching them.
But I thought it was the most secret sub in the world, Mike.
Yeah,
How is that
so
possible?
they're
I don't
confused.
understand.
Obviously, they weren't having any issues prior to this, and so we see that the submarine is approaching them, quickly. They're kind of trying to either get away from it to avoid any confrontation with it. They don't want any an international issue or anything like that. They're just testing its capability, and then they see that the sub stops, but it fires a torpedo at them. So holy shit. So now they're doing countermeasures. The captain is ordering everybody to brace for impact, but also trying to fire back at the sub that fired at them. And then right at the moment that they're counting down, and this is very intense, right? Because I've seen a few sub movies. Obviously, I feel like there's probably a bunch, but I've only seen a handful. Yeah. But it is that fear, right? If you get hit underwater, that's it. Right, yeah. Depending on this isn't fucking Star Trek or some shit like that. It was the shields will hold.
Yeah. Personally, with the issue that just happened, I found the whole movie slightly too soon. All right, about these subs imploding and exploding. All right, after the I can't remember the mini sub with the rich people that died. Mm-hmm. It was a dumb joke. It flopped. Anyway, back to you.
So yeah, as the captain of the ship is telling them to brace for impact, but right at they get to the countdown to 0, the torpedo disappears, right? And they're confused. It was what's going on with the system, and they call it a phantom or something like that.
It's a ghost in the shell.
Yeah. And then so now, like I said earlier, they also fired a torpedo. So now they're counting down the impact for that torpedo to hit the submarine. And then that submarine also disappears, right? So it's what the hell is going on? They're confused, but obviously relieved, right? They didn't get hit by a torpedo. They didn't have to take down anything. So they're just, kind of relaxing. But then one of the guys on the radar realizes that the torpedo that they shot is heading towards them.
Yeah, and I guess torpedoes have homing. They're all homing torpedoes or something like that.
Yeah, I was confused at that too, but whatever. I'm not in the Navy.
So I'm not a torpedo guy.
Just refuse to take those classes.
Yeah, just I don't want to get certified in torpedootomy. So, but other than that, whatever.
But so the torpedo that they fired is heading back towards them, and they try to disable it, but it's not working. and then we see that their own torpedo hits them, destroys the submarine, and you just see a bunch of bodies from the sailors and stuff like that floating up to the surface, which was super convenient. Which is nice.
Well, luckily bodies float, which is great.
But yeah, so that's the opening scene, and I think then we get the opening credits, the classic Mission Impossible from both the TV series and this film series, where it's just like you just see it starts with a match lighting some dynamite or something like that, and then like you just see kind of shots of Ethan, his team, and like just different shots from the movie that you're gonna see.
A lot of,
and then I think
it's gonna be a lot of
of course.
Yeah, a man can run.
And then, and then two things to notice is the fact that it was like as the bodies floated to the surface, they did point out two specific bodies, and those are the two soldiers or two men on the ship that were responsible for the two keys that unlocked the shielding system, or sorry, the stealth system. And so then we jump to Amsterdam, and we see that Ethan Hunt has gotten a what is it, like a food delivery or something like
Uber
that?
Eats, basically, yeah.
But he kind of refuses to like let obviously he's cautious because for some reason Ethan is always rogue or like on the run, so he can't even get food.
Well, he said something about like they had to speak in secret code, so maybe it was like he knew it was a dude trying to drop it off instead of like
of course that is their thing. That's always the they have an oath, not an oath, but just some kind of like code that they use in order for them to know. So the delivery guy says the code, and you can see like he said, oh yeah. And so he stumbles through the code, he gets it correct. Ethan tells him to put the bag on the table, and then he says, "Welcome to IMF." So then you realize that it is not just a regular delivery guy. This is this guy's introduction into the agency that Ethan works with. Called the Impossible Missions Force, which I feel like super cool acronym, horrible name.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's.
But yeah, so Ethan then opens the bag, and it's a mission briefing from Kittredge. And it is, the classic, your mission should you choose to accept it, and then it runs down. So basically, Kittredge is saying that telling us about the submarine that went down in the opening scene, where it's just like the submarine went down, the two keys that unlocked the stealth technology had gone missing, and there was going to be a trade-off for one of them, but Ethan's former I guess colleague, is that what you would call it? If they work together, but
lover. I don't know. There's some kind of chemistry going on between them.
Yeah, but his former colleague Ilsa Faust was intercepted one of the keys, and now there's a bounty of like 50 million on her head because whoever like all these different nations and things like that want control of these keys, and so Ilsa has a key. So now there's a bounty on her head, and they're hoping that Ethan's relationship with her will like he'll be the only person that she'll let get close enough to actually get the keys to return them to the United States government.
Yeah.
And so Ethan takes the mission. He heads to the desert in the Arabian. It was the Arabian desert where he tracks down Ilsa. And I think he's following some bounty hunters. That's what it was. So it was like somebody had let slip her location. So she's housed up in some broken down houses in the middle of the desert. Somebody has let the bounty hunters know where her location. So Ethan was following them, and then he waits.
I just want to say, for the record, when he's following them, first off, cool horsemanship. It was like, where he's hiding in a sand dune with the horse laying down, then they ride past, and he hops up. That was cool. But then he's also like 20 yards behind them, like for the entire time.
He might as well have been right over their shoulder. Like, what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? It's like you're right behind him. Like all they need to do is like cough and go, oh, what the fuck was that guy behind us?
It was exactly what happened. One guy just stretched too hard. It was
it's just like, wait a second. But yeah.
And so now Ethan waits for the cover of a sandstorm to head towards. Because actually he first. This is one thing. So like, yeah, they're outside of the stronghold that Ilsa is held up in, and he uses a mirror to kind of get her attention.
Yeah.
Or like some piece of glass or a mirror to get her attention, so she knows that he's out there as well as the bounty hunters. And so Ethan races to her stronghold, followed by the bounty hunters, and Ilsa just
when they see him and they start chasing him as well.
Yeah. So it's like then they're shooting at Ethan. Ilsa gets on a mean sniper rifle, and just starts picking them off one by one. It was like this was another. I enjoyed the action sequences in this movie. Like they gave you a bit of information, and then it was like right to the action, and it constantly like back and forth. But it was like it didn't get exhausting, right?
Yeah, and that was something I completely agree. I completely agree. Like that sniper rifle scene, that was great. Like that whole, like there's just something, almost like primal enjoyment about seeing a cool action sequence where it's someone just like, sniper rifling people down and like, bah! And I'm like, that was really fun. Like, great scene. The sandstorm was like, because of course there needs to be a sandstorm going on because we have to raise the stakes somehow. But I'm like, all right, it was still.
Well, that was the thing. Same thing. I think in the last one, it was something like with the sandstorms. Yeah. Every time they're in a desert.
Yeah, because everyone knows there are constant sandstorms in deserts. Constant. It's never not. But no, it was a really cool action scene. It was a really cool action sequence overall. You can't really complain about it. Honestly.
Yeah. So Ethan makes it to the stronghold. He takes off takes out a bunch of the bounty hunters with the help of Ilsa. And then he finally makes it to her, and you see like they're kind of. Oh no! So I think one of the bounty hunters had gotten to her, and they kind of traded shots. The bounty hunter went down, Ilsa went down, and you see her on her stomach. She seems to be dead, but then like she revives and like attacks Ethan. He lets her know who it is.
Well, that was later because right now, like I remember, damn, we think she's dead. Like it ended with, holy fuck, we think she's dead right now, and then it goes to the conference room of Ethan sneaking in.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Because I remember seeing that. I was like, holy fuck, she's dead. I was like, oh damn, really? Okay, I guess she's dead already. That's nuts. And then
so before we go back to the conference rooms, I can just tell the rest of this because it's going to happen in like 5 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
But thank you for explaining it because that way I can explain what Kittredge knows. So Ed's right. When Ethan sees that Ilsa is down, it does cut to the next scene. But it does flash back shortly after, and you see that Ilsa jumps up, she attacks Ethan, he lets her know who it is. She has the key around her neck, and so like she gives it to him. They fake her death, and they replace one of the bounty hunters' body with hers, set the thing on fire, and he tells her, "You're officially dead now, so go into hiding." Or whatever. And then that's the end of the scene in the desert. Yeah. But they split it up. For a second. So yeah, after Ethan leaves the desert and he now has the key. We jump to a meeting of the intelligence community, they call themselves. So it's just the community. And it's just basically high-ranking officials from each of the different governments. So CIA, I assume FBI, yada, yada, different nations and stuff like that. And they're led by Carrie Elways, who is the Director of National Intelligence, Denlinger, or whatever. And so they're giving him a briefing on the submarine and then the keys. And this was, I assume you're going to say it, but it was just it was weird that not one person would let they were finishing the other sentences and it was let one person give the presentation. Jesus Christ.
they were robots. They were perfect. People don't talk like that. That was my biggest thing. It's humans don't communicate because it would be so the I said Skynet because it's a sentient AI. But the sentient AI was going to be worse for everybody. And then someone will just pick up right from where they're
and then the next thing you know, and it was holy shit, did y'all rehearse this in the hallway?
Had to rehearse that. That was where I was like, okay, you're losing me.
It was people don't talk like this. Let me finish my fucking sentence, Janice.
Exactly. Because you all want to be very smart and you all know the same information, I guess. But that was a weird scene. I did not like that.
That was. I knew you were going to say something about it. Yeah. But yeah. So they're giving Denlinger, the briefing on the submarine. So the submarine crash, the keys went missing. but they tell them that the submarine crashed because it was housing an artificial intelligence that went rogue. And then it was like when it went rogue, it started jumping into like different systems, and not doing anything, just kind of hacking into the system and leaving like a thumbprint, which is basically a sign.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Oh, just to let everyone know it was there. Like it could be.
Yeah, exactly. Let me know it was there, and it was just like basically let the rest of the world know what he's capable of, or what it's capable of. Sorry. And so like they're giving him this briefing. We see some guy comes into the conference room. And kind of just sits in the back, doesn't say anything, but is just paying attention to what's the briefing that's going on. So Denlinger,
quick question just for that, because also a fun fact: I haven't really seen any of the Mission Impossible movies. I've seen the first one, but for you as someone that's seen all of them, were you like, hey, I mean, is it okay? I guess it's a little bit ahead. It turns out to be Ethan. I thought it was the AI. I was like, is that the AI?
Honestly, yeah, I thought it was the AI. If I'm being honest,
cool. Yeah.
Just because of the fact that it was like, I mean, obviously we watch enough movies to know that the camera is panning to this person too much, and it was just like the movie is a smooth 10, 15 minutes in, so like a lot has happened, but we haven't been introduced to all of the characters yet. So I assume this was a major character, which I thought was an interesting. When I thought that, obviously it's. You later find out that it is Ethan, but it was just like when I thought that it was the AI, I was like, holy shit. What are the capabilities of this thing?
Right.
Because I thought he was just going to take out those leaders or whatever, and then like kind of have the world scrambling because the only people that know are gone or something like. But yeah, so I agree with you. I thought I the same thing. I thought it was the AI in like some type of human form.
Yeah, it's 100% what I thought it was too. But then you think about like Mission Impossible, it's known for those crazy masks, from like the very beginning. But even
that's why the guy in the movie, and it's not a spoiler, but he kept touching people's faces.
Yeah, later on he was just like
with no explanation, like
sir, please stop.
Sir, can you please remove your fingers from my mouth?
Yeah,
Jesus.
No, absolutely not.
It's not fucking Scooby Doo. But yeah, so they're giving him the briefing on the AI. It went rogue. It started hacking into different systems across the world, and then like kind of disappearing. So they need the hunt for the keys is because the keys have access to the AI's like mainframe or something like that to be able to either take it down or control it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where you see kind of the human era of the issue with like humanity is this. Instead of trying to save the rest of the world, you do see these higher ups trying to take advantage of it in order to, either quell the masses or like whatever, for some nefarious purpose.
Yeah. Because everyone says if you can control this AI, you basically can control the world.
Yes.
So every country, instead of thinking about like, oh, this shit's too powerful for humans right now, they're like, no, we'll control it. It'll be fine as long as we do it. Which
And so that's when Kittredge lets the briefing, the rest of the community know that Ilsa had found the key, but she kind of went rogue or whatever. So he put out a bounty on her head. To kind of smoke her out, and he also sent one of his operatives, and Ethan, to go find it. They found out that Ilsa had died, and Ethan had went to the wind. So now they're on the hunt for Ethan. And then at the same time, the guy that's sitting in the back of the room, just paying attention to everything, kind of gives something to Kittredge, and then steps back, and Kittredge opens it, and it's just like this breathing apparatus or something like that. And he looks back at the guy who handed it to him, and he already has the thing over his mouth and his nose. And then he just throws a bomb, and like gas just spreads through the room, and everybody's knocked out except for the man who threw the bomb and Kittredge. And then the man immediately pulls off his mask, Mission Impossible style, and it's Ethan. Yeah. And he was doing all this to gain more information because in the briefing that Ethan got, they refused to tell him what the purpose of the keys for, what they unlocked, or anything like that. So I think before he handed them over to Kittredge, he wanted to figure out what it was for. Am I going to be hurting people with handing this key over? And so this is when he kind of confirms that Ilsa is in fact dead, but we as the audience see that she's still alive, and they faked her death. to kind of save her life. And so Ethan lets Kittredge know that he wants to destroy this thing. Like, there's no way he's going to hand the keys over because of the fact that everybody wants to control it, which means that there may be more bloodshed in the long run. And so Kittredge he mentioned something about the fact that like they're not going to let you out of here. Like what's your plan or whatever. And then like he gets a call from security, and like he uses code words to be like basically, yeah, Ethan Hunt is here. He has me held hostage. So come up here. And then Kittredge after he hangs up the phone, he turns back to Ethan. And he was like, "So what's your plan to get out of here?" Yeah. And already Ethan has the Kittredge mask on. He shoots him of course. He shoots him with a tranquilizer dart, and he was just like, "I guess we just jump to the next scene, right?"
Which, for the record, what this really hammers home for me as someone who doesn't really know the Mission Impossible franchise is that like how just terribly run this organization is. Like you just have a bunch of like people doing whatever the fuck they want.
Well, okay, that
orders. Yeah.
Right quick, just to back it up. That's what they also mentioned. Kittredge also mentioned this when he said the fact that he used Ethan to go find Ilsa is the fact that because I think Kittredge he used to be the director of, in like maybe the first or second one he was the director of the IMF.
Yeah.
And now I think he's the director of the CIA.
Got you. But like
and so they different organizations that are official, so your FBI's, MI6, the different ones, they use the IMF for missions that are kind of outside of the law in a way, right? So it's just like for the most part, if you decide to take this mission, because it is all if your mission if you choose to accept it. Yep. If you take the mission that you're basically going rogue, you're committing treason. But it was like whatever you have to do to complete this mission. Yeah. So they know that they know that when they recruit these people that basically but you're right, there's no
come in just there's no structure. Yeah, like it's just okay. Do they get paid though? Does the US government pay for these people to do whatever the fuck they want? That's really what I want to know.
I assume there's a stipend of some kind.
All right, are my tax dollars going to a bunch of rogues like this? And I don't appreciate that. Okay.
Okay. So I think what's next? Okay, then so next, Ethan reunites with Benji and Luther. Mm-hmm. So the plan is like they know that there's a buyer for the second key. Mm-hmm. So first they think that Benji and Luther think that Ethan wants to steal the second key, but he's like, no, we can't steal the second key if we don't know what it opens. Mm-hmm. So I think their plan is to just follow the buyer of the guy who has the second key. They're going to follow him to the person who wants to buy it, so they can, as they trail them, they can gain more information on what the keys unlock. So I think it's simple. They're going to find the guy that Ethan has like a special set of glasses that he can use because there's a certain alloy or whatever that the key has. Sure. Yeah. So he can use that to point out the buyer, and then get on the same flight that guy is that guy is on, so that he can follow him to his next destination and stuff like that. So simple, simple mission.
A bunch of crazy. It's magic.
All right. The only drawback is the fact that the community has sent out agents in Briggs and I can't remember the guy's name, something with a D, Degas.
Okay.
Briggs and Degas have been tasked with finding Ethan, right? Mm-hmm. So this is why Ethan recruits Luther and Benji. So like as Ethan is in the airport, waiting for the buyer or whatever, Benji and Luther being your hacker, he is basically messing with the cameras and the facial recognition so that they can't find Briggs and his team can't find Ethan. They send him and his team to like so first they send them to one guy, but it's not Ethan, and then so you have the operators in the guy at the computer, the guy, what is it? Is it the guy at the desk or some shit like that? It said it in like Spider-Man, but the guy at the computer or whatever is saying that's definitely Ethan Hunt. I see him on my screen, but Briggs, who is there and in real life, is like, this is not him. They're fucking with the camera. And then so another operator sees that Ethan is in another terminal in the airport. So basically, that sends Briggs' team to another terminal, and this is where you get the comedy, a bit of the comedy, where like Briggs has obviously had run-ins with Ethan and knows about the IMF and stuff like that. So he keeps just touching people's faces
Yeah.
because it's a mask.
Because he knows he's just like, I don't really.
But so now that Briggs and his team have been sent to another terminal, Ethan is basically free to roam in the terminal where the buyer is. And so he sees the buyer. I think at the same time we see a guy that we'll later find out is Gabriel. But he enters the airport. He checks a bag and then he kind of walks away.
Yeah.
And Benji, who is like they're monitoring all the cameras and stuff like that, Benji gets an alert that there's a suspicious bag, but it goes away, so he thinks nothing of it. They're focusing on the mission. So they find the buyer. I feel like I'm not. Is it the buyer or the?
He's just a patsy. He's another transporter of some sort.
We'll just call him the holder of the key. That's because it's not the technical buyer. Sorry.
Yeah.
The guy who has the key, they find him, and so Ethan is trailing him, and he gets distracted for a second, and in that second, a thief pickpockets the key, and Ethan notices because his glasses detect the key, the alloy of the key, and it's no longer on the guy who had the key. So now he turns around and he starts chasing the thief, and he stops her. And they do a bit of sleight of hand with one another. Like he's just like, she pretend. Yeah, initially she pretends like she's just a pickpocket. It was just a random mark. It didn't mean anything. But he just basically convinces her because she was like, "I'll scream" to kind of alert the police. And he's like, "Yeah, go ahead. You're a thief." So they decide to work together. And he's just like, "Whatever they're paying you, I'll pay you more. But I need you to put that key back on the guy so that I can know where he's going." And at the same time, so there's a lot of things are happening. Briggs is in another terminal, but then they realize that Ethan is in the original terminal they were in, and then Benji also gets another alert about that bag. Yeah. And he's like, "Holy shit, we need to. It might be something. It might be a bomb. So I need to go." So Benji goes looking for the bag. Ethan and the thief are going back to find the guy who originally had the key so they can put it back on him. But when they find him, he has already been intercepted and killed by Paris, an assassin. And so you have and this was, I think this built this tension. I think it wasn't a lot of fast cuts, so you were like confused as to what was going on. It was like so many stakes. Everybody, like you had Luther monitoring the screens, you had Briggs and his team chasing Ethan trying to get the key back on the thief, Benji handling the bomb and stuff like. There was like so many moving pieces, but you were able to follow them. Yeah. Like your heart's pumping and stuff like that. I think it was just a great sequence.
I agree,
right?
100%. Like the movie was strongest, I think, kind of early on with some of the sequences and things it was doing. And this, as I think you said it perfectly, Mike, it's just everything's happening at once, so you as the audience see it. Not all the characters know about all the other stuff going on, but you know it as an audience member, and because of that, you're just like, "Oh my gosh, what are you going to do about this?" Like, think, Ethan, there's a nuclear bomb somewhere in here. What are you doing right now? But like, he had no idea. So it's like it is like a fun way of like going in and looking at all this. Yeah.
So I think that's when they realize that the entity, that's what they're calling the AI, is involved somehow. So like Benji finds the bag, it has a bomb in it, so he's trying to defuse it, and before it even starts, it has his name. It says what does it say? You are done. Yeah, right? You are
done. Yeah.
You are done, but instead of DONE, it says DUNN, his last name.
Yeah.
So he was like, obviously, this was set up. This was like they knew that I was going to be here. They've run the algorithm and all that stuff. They kind of know what our moves are going to be. Yeah. And so through all this high tension, they're not able to get the key back. Then Grace evades Ethan. I think Briggs catches up with Ethan, but he's able to like slip away, and you just see him. Tom Cruise running on top of the airport.
Yeah, he like gets on the roof and he's just Yeah.
Simon is able to. Sorry, not Simon. Benji is able to defuse the bomb just in time. But as he defuses it, he opens up and sees that there was nothing in there. It was
It
literally
was
just a
never bomb at
distraction.
all. Yeah, it was a distraction slash the AI is just trying to probably learn more about them to get more
Yeah.
information. Yeah.
And so when Ethan realizes this, because they were keeping the bomb a secret to him because he was handling, everything's so many things are happening. He was like, "You handle this, we'll handle the bomb." But once Ethan kind of realizes what's going on, he just tells everybody abort mission. Everybody just separate. We don't meet at the rendezvous. I'll go ahead
Yeah.
because
Or
of
he
the
even
fact
tells
that it
them
was
don't
like,
meet at the rendezvous. He's like, nope, don't worry about it. You all get away from here.
yeah.
It's going to be me now.
Because
Yeah.
I think he just realized that it's like playing chess with somebody like that already has moves like set up for you. So it's just like you just have to assume that you're playing from behind
Yeah.
and start there in a way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Question for you as well. Did the past Mission Impossible movies kind of really focus on the fact that like all these so like Luther, Benji, Ethan, Elsa, that they're all like really good friends and kind of like a family? Did it ever really focus on that, or?
It's built so like I think in the original because I don't think Benji came in until the third one. Like I said, Luther was there from the beginning. He was a part of Ethan's team.
Yeah.
And like the first one, I think the first one also Emilio Estevez was
Okay.
like on the team. But it was like, yeah, so Benji has been working with Ethan for the longest. And then came Benji, and then I think Ilsa was, I think initially, because she's a British intelligence agent,
Yeah,
so I think
MI6,
she was
yeah.
a bit of an antagonist in maybe the fifth one, I think, something like that.
Okay.
And then has since recently kind of switched over
Yeah.
to become an ally.
'Cause, like,
But it was like, yeah, it is, they have built up this this family
Yeah.
slowly but surely. It didn't
I
start
was
out that
trying
way.
to not say family, but I was trying to not say family because it is Mission Impossible, not Fast and Furious.
We'll call it a fraternity if you will.
Yeah, fraternity or just friends. Because like one of the questions for Benji was like, "Oh, what's the most important thing to you?" And Benji's like, "My friends." And he's like, "Fuck you for making me say it." For the record, I'm like, "Why are you so upset about admitting your friends are important to you?" Bro?
What are you in middle school?
Yeah,
Look
I
at
know,
you
bro.
liking your friends, you nerd.
You're allowed to say you like your friends, man. All I'm saying. But yeah, but they really keep building and hammering on this point throughout the movie, and this is like the first iteration I saw of them being like friends instead of family. But yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, so the team splits up. I think Benji and Luther head off separately, so they didn't even go the same way. Not Tom Cruise. Ethan finds his way on the flight that Grace was taking, because then he realizes, like, initially she played it off as like she was just some random, girl just stealing from a guy. But then you see further on as like she keeps trying to escape and stuff like that, that she was clearly hired to steal the key from this person and deliver it somewhere. So he hops on the same plane that she's on. I think they're going to Rome,
Yes.
right?
Roma.
Yeah, so she heads to Rome, and I think he calls ahead like a dickhead. And so like the Italian police are basically waiting for her as she lands. So immediately as she lands, she ends up in like an interrogation. And then you see that like she has a bunch of different passports on her, like, and then the guy is saying it was like, well, this one is wanted for this in this place, and this one for this. Like, so she has a broad record.
Yeah, she's very naughty, to say the least. Yeah. No, she's stealing a bunch of shit. That's bad. Not nice. Not nice to steal. All right, we're taught that when we're growing up, man.
And so this is where we see like Grace is captured in Rome. She's in the police station, and then we see also Briggs and his team have somehow, I guess because of the fact that Ethan had flagged her, they also followed her to the prison, and then the guy who's holding her, like who's interrogating her, because she's still playing it. I don't know who those people are or who that person is. That is my picture, but that's not me, type of thing. Really, playing it off. So the guy mentions that her lawyer is there, and so they take her to see her lawyer, and who is it? But Ethan Hunt,
Damn right,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think before and then at the same time, so while Ethan and Grace are talking, we get another glimpse of the guy who left the bag at the airport in Abu Dhabi. and it is, I don't think they say his name at the time. It doesn't matter. But this is Gabriel, and he's saying to the he pretends to be Interpol, I believe.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, and it's saying that like the woman that you just arrested, did she have a key on her, maybe something on a necklace, and then he mentions the fact that he needs the key that she had, and the police officer is like, she didn't have anything on her, and then Gabriel kind of presses him like, I know that you like to steal certain art, or like certain things don't make it into evidence, when you either give it to your wife or your mistress. So he mentions like all the background of this guy. Obviously, he has like a lot of information on this man, and so I think
Then he kills him.
yeah, he definitely
It
killed
was vicious. If I remember, I can't remember how he kills him now, but like he kills him, and I have in my note, I'm like, damn, this man is vicious. Like, so I don't remember what.
Well, yeah, because he mentioned like the detective or whatever tried to call his secretary, and Gabriel goes, "Oh, she's no longer with us." Like,
Yes, yeah. I'm like, damn, yeah, this man doesn't mess around.
and then so
Ethan's walking out with Grace at this point in time, right?
yeah, he's trying to get her out. She pretends like he like grabbed her or like something like that, so that she can get away. And so she gets away. She steals a cop car because he's basically telling her that like you're no longer safe. Like they're like the people that hired you to steal what you stole. Like it's too valuable. Like they're going to be coming after you.
Yeah.
And so like she panics, obviously, and so she runs away from Ethan. She steals a cop car and drives away. At the same time, Ethan steals a cop bike or whatever, and kind of is trying to get her to like stop. Obviously, he wants the key because we see why she doesn't have the key. It's because when she was on the plane, she flirted with a guy, and kind of slipped it into his pocket, so that if she was apprehended in Rome, she wouldn't have the key on her. And she made plans to meet him later that night.
So I will say, I wear suits every now and then. I would definitely feel a key in my front suit pocket on my chest, but hey, it's.
I feel like none of the blood was in his head. He was like so excited.
True. He was
Beautiful
very
woman was
excited.
flirting with him.
Man got his hopes up when he got her number. He was like, "Oh, all right, yeah." So he was very excited.
And so Ethan is chasing Grace through Rome, and before he can get to her, I think somebody crashes into her, and this is what's his name? What's her name? Paris, who's working with Gabriel as like his right hand, an assassin, and so we get like a standoff between Briggs, Paris, the Italian police, and like Grace is like a little discombobulated because she just got into a car accident. Ethan is trying to get her out of the car, but before he can, Briggs comes and trying to apprehend him, and then they also have a standoff with the Italian police, and then Paris comes out of fucking nowhere like a goddamn maniac, and just like starts beating the shit out of the Italian police and firing at Briggs and his team. And this is the first time you see like.
Paris is a bad. She is, man. Yeah.
Ruthless. But it was like what you do see in this moment. This is the first time of a few times where Briggs has Ethan like dead to rights or like trying to arrest him, and Ethan just gives him that look like, I could kill you right now, but it was like that's not what I do. Like I'm not the one you're looking for, or something like that. So
I think it's more like the whole or like that look of he's like, look, man, I'm kind of trying to do the right thing here. Like, come on, like, you get it. I'm not doing it by the rules, but you know me. I try to do the right thing. I'm not a bad guy. Yeah.
And so Ethan he uses like a dickhead, but smart. He uses Grace as a human shield because they won't kill her. They need her alive. They don't give a fuck about Ethan, but they need her alive. So he uses her as a human shield to get into a car and escape. So then we get another, and this is the car chase I was talking about.
Chase scene, yeah.
And we get a chase through Rome, and it was like, honestly, it was really cool. You got a fucking Paris in a goddamn armored truck, plowing through everything, which was amazing. Ethan in a car with no doors because they got torn off as he was exiting, and then Briggs and Degas.
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 Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So it was just like a huge chase through Rome.
Yeah. Oh, and then also like Ethan and Grace are handcuffed to each other now at this
Oh
point.
yeah. So before Grace can run away again, Ethan handcuffs her.
So they're
Um,
trying to
but
drive with the wrong hand.
yeah, so it's like initially he has her driving.
Yeah.
So because I think it's their her right hand, his left hand,
Mm-hmm.
because from the way they were sitting in the car, and he was a passenger. But then she's like, he's trying to tell her how to drive, but he can't instruct her. So she's like, "You drive," but it makes it very difficult because their hands are cuffed. Which is a bit of comedy, which is funny and shit, because it also added to the tension of them, like the chase.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens? They ditch the car.
Well, it winds up with Grace, like them crashing into the train station. Grace uses the handcuffs to like get her.
What I was saying, that's what I'm saying. So first they ditch the car, get a new one.
Yes, yeah, and
then that one is basically pointless. And this is what I was saying. It was kind of drawing out this car chase.
it was.
But So they are able to travel to take a tunnel into the subway or whatever, or to like down in the subway, and Grace unlocks the handcuffs, because this is what was cool, and it was like you saw it earlier. So like when she was getting interrogated by the police, she has they have a bunch of passports, and I think one of them had a paper clip on it. So like she looked at it and then like took the paperclip quickly without showing it to the rest, and it was like, so she had that paper, and it was like, I thought that was cool because it was just like, it seemed very strategic on her, and you saw how like she's just very intelligent, and like thinking on her feet, which was really cool. But yeah, so she uses the paperclip to unlock the handcuffs and then handcuff Ethan to the steering wheel.
It just leaves him to die. She's like,
and then
"Fuck
just
you, bro."
leaves him, and then like shortly after you hear a train coming.
Yeah.
Ethan can't. At least she gives him the paperclip
I
though,
guess.
but he can't. He can't unlock the the handcuffs fast enough. So you just see him. He tears off the steering wheel and like just narrowly escapes getting hit by a train.
Yeah.
And then so now he's walking through the city with a steering wheel handcuffed to him.
Yeah.
And then he's picked up by Benji and Luther.
Yep.
And then in the front seat is also Ilsa, who he told, disappear, but obviously she can't.
Teams back together, friends, fraternity.
And so then we get another kind of a debriefing. So what's to happen next? So basically, Grace is like they're going to meet with the buyer of the.
Real quick,
because
just also to say, like throughout the movie too, we've already seen like 2 or 3 flashbacks of like young Gabriel and like the other woman.
Yes.
So what's just really quick? This has happened a couple times now. It's you see Ethan running in a tunnel, a younger Gabriel without the salt and pepper hair, with just like straight like black hair, and he's like smiling at Ethan, and then like a lady who got shot. And for me, I assume that happened in an earlier movie, but that never happened. This is solely
that's not that hasn't happened in any of the prior Mission Impossibles. Yeah. Now it's interesting because in the first movie, something like that did happen. So maybe it actually I haven't revisited the first one in a while because something like that did happen. Like he was on a mission. Some woman does get shot, and it was like the guy who did it was like in the shadows.
Okay.
So it might be maybe it's referencing that. I would need to go back and watch it because I can't remember in that film if you find out who that was. Okay. I feel like you found out who that was in that film, but it is very reminiscent of something that happened in another Mission Impossible. But also I feel like this is something because it did mention that it was before his time in IMF.
Yeah, it made him who he was.
So it's one of those things where I think you do see later in this film that IMF is more of a last chance, a last resort type of thing. It's not something that you just choose, right? That's why it is your mission should you choose to accept it. Yeah. Because of the fact that it was just like a lot of these people like had no other choice. A very particular set of skills, but they had no other choice down in their luck. So like they just took this job type of thing. Yeah. So I think maybe that'll lead. Once again, it's part one of a 2-parter. So we will get more information on that flashback because you're right. It did happen several times, but like I didn't think any. It's one of those things. That was like, if you don't give me all the information, I'm like, cool. I'll bookmark it, and then like we'll revisit it when you finally want to give me all the information.
Yeah, well, because with that, so like Ethan knows who Gabriel is and like recognizes him, and he has this whole thing. He's like, he's a bad man. He just wants to see people suffer.
So after he's picked up by his team, they go back to a safe house, and then they start Luther had gone over the footage from the airport in Abu Dhabi, and one thing they realized is that like there was the guy who dropped off the bag was a blip on the camera. So that's when they're realizing that the AI was basically the entity was concealing this person from the cameras, like just wiping things in real time. So obviously this is an accomplice of the entity.
Yeah.
But he's not able to, like, I think there's a picture from a mirror or something like that, or a reflection.
Yeah.
And they're able to see who it is. So Ilsa knows who it is, and she's kind of fearful of him. And then also Ethan knows. So like you said, this is when we get that flashback.
Yeah. Well, because even before, Ethan saw him at the airport, and that was also part of the reason why he told the friends to disperse. You know, like when Ethan
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. But now either way, debriefing, then they talk about Gabriel some more here, and he's a bad man.
And so they figure out where the exchange is going to happen. So Ethan and I think, yeah, this is one where like Ethan wants to go in alone because he realized that if Gabriel's there, he knows how Gabriel works. He's not just for the kill. Obviously, he wants to kill you, but he wants to make you suffer as well. And the only way for him to make Ethan suffer is his friends, like we said earlier.
Family.
Benji had mentioned it. It's fraternity. It's Kappa. It's the betas, bro.
It's an F word. My bad. I'll get it.
But yeah, so the only way that Gabriel can truly hurt him is with his friends. So he's trying to avoid giving Gabriel that leverage. And then it is this kind of like mental chess where like Benji's like, well, what if he wants you to a bit like not have us there? Like what? And it was just like, but so Ilsa, being Ilsa is like, no, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
So you see Ilsa and Ilsa and Ethan heading to the party, as well as Grace is there. She meets, and it's right before Ilsa and Ethan get there. Grace has a conversation with Gabriel, and like he basically is saying, "I know who you are," and it mentioned like kind of being ominous about the fact that he's going to get the key from her, and stuff like that.
And he's like,
and
Ethan
then
will promise to protect you, but he never will. Blah, blah,
yes,
blah.
yeah. And so then Ethan shows up with Ilsa, and it was like they kind of have this standoff between Gabriel and Ethan. But before anything can happen, the White Widow shows up, who was a character from an earlier film. So Ethan and her have a history. But also I forgot, and this is my reading more into it. The White Widow's mother was in the first one.
Oh, okay.
In the first Mission Impossible, so that's something too. But it was something like unless you truly follow these movies, like you wouldn't have known it. So it's just a little Easter egg thing. But yeah, so the White Widow kind of stops any confrontation from happening, so that they can have a meeting. And as they're having their meeting, Briggs and Degas also show up to the party to apprehend Ethan. And so we have this, like, then this is kind of a very intense standoff where it's just like, what is it? Grace has the key, like, no, she knows where the key is. She says she doesn't have it on her. They check, she doesn't have it because she realizes like that's her bargaining chip. Yeah. The White Widow has the second half of the key, and the only way to verify it is to put them together. And so then you see that the White Widow is the one that hired Grace to steal the key, and then you see her like trying to. She's a broker, so she's trying to figure out who's she gonna sell the key to, because obviously whoever has the key has control of the entity. So, and she realizes like so many people want it, but whoever she does end up selling it to, the rest of the world is going to like basically put a target on her back. So she has to be very, very strategic in how she moves. And then Gabriel makes threats because he's working with the entity. He's just like, your fate has already been written. I think this brought a bit of menace to his character, and like because it's Gabriel's like the archangel and stuff like that. So he kept saying like, your story has already been written. You see that he's like is not afraid of killing anyone. So it's just, and he's basically saying like, if you don't get, I know like who the buyer is or whatever for the key. You're going to be on the Orient Express tomorrow. I plan to be there too, and I will get the key. Like he was like, even if you don't sell it to me, I will end up with those keys.
Yeah.
And so he also kind of makes a proposition to Ethan. He was just like, you choose who will die, right, between Ilsa and Grace. This was kind of his plan all along, was to get these two women in the room.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that he has protection from the White Widow because she fears him. So she's not going to be convinced by Ethan to give him the keys because she fears what Gabriel and the entity will do to her. And so she lets Gabriel go, but he basically tasks her with forcing Ethan to choose between Ilsa or Grace to die. But he also mentions that Grace is the one that knows where the key is. And I think at this time, just a quick backup, you see that Grace does have the key on her, and she slips it into the jacket of the White Widow's brother, which I can't remember his name.
Oh, well, that was her brother, not like a henchman?
Her brother.
Oh, that was her brother. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Zola is his name. But she slips it into his jacket because they keep searching her for it, but she doesn't, she doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And so before Gabriel leaves, and I think this is in the trailer where he says, if anything happens to them, there's nowhere you can go where I can't find you, and I will kill you.
And this whole thing with Gabriel, like this whole entire thing, I'm just like, that's a great villain. I love like this entire like monologue or his entire speech about everything going on. I was like, I think Gabriel, who is Esai Morales, I think he did phenomenal as Gabriel. I really enjoyed the Gabriel character for sure, and it was kind of like cemented with this whole thing going on. He did some questionable things later where I was like, that's kind of silly, but as a whole, I'm like, yeah, that's a really cool villain. Yeah, going over here.
And so, before he leaves, he said you have to choose between Ilsa and Grace. But he says, in my opinion, Grace is the only one that knows where the key is.
Yeah.
So before anything can happen to Ilsa, Ethan tells her to run or whatever. So she slips away. He starts fighting with the brother and like the different guards that are there. And I think this is where you can see a bit of an aging Tom Cruise, where like he's hitting the guy. You can tell he's a little bit winded.
Yeah. He's 61.
But through the scuffle, they all escape. Grace, Ethan, Ilsa, they all escape and go separate ways.
I'm so tired of Grace running away from Ethan at this point. Like,
it was getting a little frustrating.
Yeah,
it was
he's done nothing but run away from this man who was like, I get it, you don't really know him, you really want to trust him with your life, but like he's shown that he is trying his best to keep her alive. And she's like, no, I'm running away again. And you're like, dude, God.
And so like they're all like they're all running. Now you also see that Briggs and Degas are following Ethan.
Yeah.
And so like he's on comms with Luther and Benji, and they're giving him directions to meet up with Grace to protect her. And because she's taking the key back. So like she stashed it on Zolo for a bit, and then she swiped it back before she escaped.
Yeah.
And then so like as he's getting directions from Benji, we see back at the command center or their safe house with Benji and Luther that the entity has disrupted the comms. So like Ethan hears Benji giving him directions, turn left, turn right, whatever, but he's not actually at the safe house. He's not giving him these directions. They realize that, which frustrated me because it was like, bro, it's AI. Yep. So obviously anything fucking digital.
Yep. Well, I mean, because Luther kept hacking the satellites and trying to stay like one step ahead, and they were like, nope, can't do it. You can't out-real.
But it was like, it's a fucking AI. Yeah. It's Ultron, dumb, like
Skynet.
But yeah, so because of that, Benji, like Luther's gonna keep trying to break through to get to break the comms. Benji goes out on foot to try to go find Ethan, and now Ethan is getting directions from the entity, but not knowing it, and the entity basically leads him to this alleyway that's kind of trapped. So then he gets attacked by both Paris and, was it Zola or just a random?
I think it was just another guy who was on Gabriel's side, Gabriel and Paris' side. Yeah.
And so I think this was a intense, because once it's back to the airport in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Where like everybody is somewhere. Now this one's a little bit more confusing just because of the fact that it's a chase scene.
Yeah.
So like if you don't know where the setting is, you are kind of lost, just as the characters are, which maybe enhances it. But yeah, you have Grace fleeing, you have Ethan trying to find her, and you have the rest is in Luther and Benji trying to get through to Ethan to help.
Yeah.
So it's like it is building up this anticipation, and the entity leads using Benji's voice. It leads Ethan to this alleyway, and then it switches off and says, "It was like I'm not Benji. Like you won't be able to defeat me or whatever." And then Paris and another guy attack Ethan, and this is just a crazy ass. I mean, you've seen the hallway scene in like Daredevil and stuff like that, but it was just like it's very tight, a very tight alleyway.
Yeah,
it's super hard to fight, but Ethan is able to like even. I mean, they get him down at one point, but it was like just his resolve and stuff like that. He's able to defeat them, because also the fact that he just kept slamming people's heads and
which is what you should do in that situation. Just
honestly, but it was just I feel like every time I see fights like this, I'm just like, can we set ground rules? No bricks.
No, just grab a brick, brain somebody in the head. Hell yeah. But that fight scene was cool because, as you said, since it was in that alley, it felt claustrophobic even to like me watching it. So I was like, oh man, this is gonna be. And then
it's not like you can fully swing or anything like that, or like it's just like if it's you. I think it's one of those things where like you see people thinking in real time, like you're adapting. I mean, because fighting is that anyway, right? But it was just like now it's the environment is forcing you to fight a different way, and also you have two people, and it's like being that you can't fully turn around or whatever it is. It was just like it was just an intense fight scene. It was just like crazy to see how he thought himself out of that, right?
Yeah. And Paris had a spike, and she kept like stabbing at him with this damn spike. And I was like, oh god, like I don't want to get hit by that. That seems uncomfortable. Yeah.
But yeah, so Ethan is able to subdue both of his attackers, and he has like a pipe or something like that, and he like Paris is down, and he goes to like strike her to give her the death blow, but he just hits right above her head, and just runs away.
So he killed the other guy, but he left Paris alive. It just shows Ethan just has like a weakness to like attractive women. Like that's like it's just.
He's like, I can't let the pretty ladies live. It's a bad day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so while Ethan is having his fight with Paris and the other guy, Grace makes it to a bridge. I think that's what that was their kind of meeting up point or whatever.
Yeah.
But waiting for her on that bridge is Gabriel.
Yep. It's like, damn it, Grace. And so one job, just stop running away from Ethan, and like all of this could have like not happened, but no.
And so this is like Grace is she's no damsel in distress. They fight. I mean, she's not winning, but she just try to like fight for her life. And Gabriel basically subdues her as well and is about to get the key, but suddenly Ilsa shows up, and Gabriel mentions, "I was hoping it was you," right? And so Gabriel and Ilsa fight, and I swore Ilsa was going to win that one, because she had she was the better fighter the whole time.
No. For the record, it's a terrible idea to try a flying triangle on someone when they have a knife, because literally you triangle their head. And
that did piss me off. I was just like, why are you giving him access to your legs? He has a knife.
Don't do that. Yeah, I'm like, please stop doing that. The man has a knife. You need to get the knife out of his hand. Because it was a very flashy fight with doing kind of like high action moves and like lots of swirly moves and stuff. But like if you look at it from a practicality, I'm like, that's a terrible idea, Ilsa. Like that was just because you look at it, and the reason I'm saying that is because you get a lot of action movies now that have much more grounded in reality fights, aka like John Wick, where like he's not doing these high flying moves when a dude can stab him in the side for doing it. No, if he's doing a move, it's because he's like incapacitated the man enough to then do the move. But still like. So, and this is where I kind of saw it coming, like when you see.
I mean, obviously, but it was like, I think I just did like that. She did hold her own. I mean, obviously, she's she's a secret agent, but Gabriel gets the best of Ilsa. He stabs her in the chest, leaves, and she dies. But this is, I think, what you were saying. It was just like he beat Ilsa and just let Grace walk.
Yep. Because
it was like what Did you forget the mission?
No. The AI has all the plans, man. That's what he was supposed to do. All he needed to do was kill, Ilsa, and then he knows Ethan will follow him with the key, and then he can get it there.
Yeah.
I think that was his thought. Yeah.
Or he could have just smooth went in Grace's pocket.
Nah,
But okay, fine.
Nah.
So Ethan shows up too late. Ilsa's already dead, and also at the same time, Benji shows up. Grace is there, and so like this is a very emotional scene at the at their safe house where I think Luther gives Grace like coffee or something like that, and like she's sitting there like kind of devastated because like this is not her work. Like she's a thief, she's not a secret agent, she's not a spy.
Yeah.
So like death may not be as she might not be as comfortable with death as the rest of them.
Yeah.
And then like this is where you get more of the family-ness of it all.
Before we even get to the family part, then it's like she's like, "I'm so sorry, it's my fault." And I'm like, "It's not your fault." And I'm like, "Oh, fucking course it's her fault."
I know we didn't see the movie together, but I also yelled like I said, "Excuse me, it is her fault."
How do you mean this is not her fault? In what world?
Every day I try not to be the black person that yells at the screen, but at that moment I had to.
But yeah, so as you said, you get the whole family thing where they give Grace the choice, and then like Ethan has this line where he's like, I can't promise I'll always be able to keep you safe, but I can promise that I'll always value your life more than mine. And I'm like,
Jesus.
Okay, all right, that's apparently how this works. Because they were kind of alluding to it, but like, all right, thanks, Vin Diesel. I mean, Tom Cruise.
But yeah, so now they know that the buyer and the White Widow are going to be on the Orient Express the next morning, and so they need to get on that train, right? So that's when they recruit Grace to the team. They're like, we need you basically to double as the White Widow, so that we can get her key and then go to the meeting to find out who the buyer is and figure out what the hell the AI is trying to do, right? And so that's the plan. And it was dope because you saw like you saw them doing it. So as they kind of like they didn't walk you through the plan, they showed you what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So it was like Grace was going to be the White Widow. Ethan was going to be her brother Zola. Sorry.
Yeah.
They were gonna subdue them, incapacitate them, go to the meeting, and do all. And then like Grace would stay on the train. Ethan would just parachute off or whatever. That was a plan. And then like Grace is like, really? That's what's supposed to happen? And Ethan was like, yeah, pretty much. And so like you see that I think somebody mentioned it here where it was just like. I think it might have been Luther or something like that. That the fact that the AI is kind of scared of Ethan,
yeah,
right, and it's like that's why it's kind of tormenting you because it feels like if there was, and because Gabriel mentioned this earlier, right? This AI is running thousands, like millions of algorithms in a second. So it's like there's nothing that you could do that it hasn't already predicted and it has already countered and stuff like that. But it seems like Ethan Hunt is the one foil in that plan.
The one man who can counteract the AI. He's the one. Yeah.
Now I'm curious if it's the fact that Ethan wants to destroy it and not control it. So it's like because obviously if like because it's going back to the flaw of man, right? It was just like, if you want to control me, that means I can control you type of thing. Yeah. I think from the AI. But if you want to kill me, that means you don't care. Like you're a man that I can't corrupt in a way.
Yeah.
So I don't know is it that or is it the fact that the AI and Ethan have beef, like true like beef from the past?
or is it the fact that Ethan Hunt's the main character? It's definitely one of those three things.
I'm leaning toward the first one just because of the fact that it is this like, if I can't corrupt you, then you need to be taken out.
I would say it is probably the first one because most humans, or every human besides Ethan basically, wants to control it or still utilize it, and Ethan's like the one person that wants to destroy it. So as you said, since that's like different than everyone that's outside of its like, prediction technology. Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so like that is a plan for them to get on the train. Right, but Luther helps them with the mission, but then he leaves because he says that he needs to get off the grid in order to help them actually take down the AI.
Yeah,
because of the fact that he's the AI is digital. Whatever they do in in the, on the web or whatever it is, it can be tracked.
Mm-hmm.
So like he needs to go to a secure location to get off the grid.
Yeah.
But before he leaves, he says that he warns Ethan not to kill Gabriel.
Yes.
Right, because of the fact that they still don't know the purpose of the keys at this point in the movie. The Ethan and his team don't know what the keys' purpose is. So it's like if you kill Gabriel because of the fact that he killed Ilsa, and you already have a history with him. If you kill Gabriel out of anger or out of revenge or vengeance, whatever you want to call
the
it,
dark side wins, and then
the dark side wins. Let the hate flow through.
Good, yes.
But the dark side wins, and also you'll never know.
Yeah.
And if Gabriel dies, then the AI wins, right? Because then we'll never know what the key unlocks.
Yeah.
And so Luther gives that warning, and then he leaves. And then when they go back to the safe house, Ethan goes back into the room, and the machine that creates their life mask has broken in the middle of printing the Zola mask.
Is it known for
the
breaking?
White Widow's mask?
Is this machine known for breaking? I've never, has it broken in the past?
Don't think so.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Maybe. Once again, like I said, I did run through them.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. I can't confidently say whether one or the other. But yeah, so the machine breaks. So now, once again, they need to figure out how to get Ethan on this train. So like they're still gonna put Grace on the train, but now they need to figure out how to get Ethan on it. So I think they figure out the fact that the train hits a curve at some point, so it needs to slow down. So Ethan is going to be riding a motorcycle through the countryside, and that's his entry point.
Yeah.
In order to hop on the train. And so then we jump to the next day. Grace is on the train. She subdues what's her name, the White Widow, and then she goes to the meeting. And you find out at the meeting that the buyer is actually Kittredge.
Yeah.
And that they have Kittredge and the White Widow have a history. There's like he knew her mom, he promised her mom that he would take care of her and stuff like that. And at the same time, you see what's her name, Paris, board the train somehow. Like she does not have a ticket. I think she just hopped on somehow. She takes out I guess one of the drivers or something.
Yeah.
And then she goes to unlock a crate that was on the train, and it's actually like a little casket that was housing Gabriel, and he had like this AI VR headset on.
Yeah.
So it had the AIs like the entities like the lights or whatever that has been shown throughout the movie that to indicate that the entity is near or whatever. So he was hiding on the train. She releases him from the coffin or whatever. He goes and he kills the conductor, kills the whistle man, whoever kills the dude with the putting in the iron or whatever. The coal.
Yeah.
And he locks that door. So basically, the train is like it's a runaway train. And he's locked the door so they can't get in and to stop the train or anything like that. And then he goes and he has first Paris goes into a room or whatever that has two agents in it. And she gets checked or whatever. The agent's a little touchy.
Yeah. As agents are known to be.
And then as soon as they figure out that she's clean or whatever, they knock on the door to the next room or whatever. And we see that it is Denlinger, the director of intelligence. And so once she sees that it's officially him, she kills the two agents, forces him to sit down, opens the door, and it is they have a meeting with Gabriel. And Denlinger basically gives a monologue about the fact that he wants to use the AI or the entity to basically control the world. Like you'll get rid of basically using like a kind of a technical genocide in a way, where he's gonna anybody who can't keep up is gonna or who questions it is gonna be taken out.
He's like have the AI the AI partnered with America's military capability. It'll be like the number one thing in the world, and like that's where he's really going for it. Yeah. And
then you do see that so initially when we first meet him in that meeting with the community. he's being brief, like as if he doesn't know anything. But then in this meeting on the train, you definitely see that he knew way more than he let on. So basically, the entity was created, the AI was created by the U.S. government, basically for spy missions. It was like, so the fact that they wouldn't have to actually send in humans to do these missions, they could just use the AI. But the AI went rogue and he rewrote its code and stuff like that. And that's when it jumped on the ship, the submarine, and early in the movie or whatever. And it's like, sorry.
Well, I was just thinking, question. So, like, do Kitrick and the Dunlinger or whatever his name is, do they know they're each on the train? Or are they working independently too? So they're even working in.
They're working independent, yeah. Because remember when Briggs sees Kittredge, he goes, "Oh, I'm not here." Well, like first, he says, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
And then when he comes back, he's like, "Well, since you're not here, sir, I don't have to."
Well, then did Briggs know? So, and Briggs probably didn't know the other guy was on the train either. So,
Yeah.
All of those people. Yeah. So like everyone's kind of acting for themselves at this point in time. From like who's double crossing who, and the answer is they're all double crossing each other. That's what I got from this.
Crisscross.
The spaghetti. Damn it. Yeah.
But basically, Denlinger gives this whole monologue that he's trying to basically create an alliance with Gabriel and the AI to work together in order to basically control the world. Yeah. And he mentions that the reason so he also knows, Denlinger knows the purpose of the keys, and is to unlock the box on the submarine in order to get to the AI to the AI's like source code. And he knows the location of the submarine, right? Yeah. And then he mentions that he's the only one that knows. And I'm just like, oh god, come on! Basically, you're playing checkers, not chess here. What are you doing, guy? And so Gabriel kind of leans in. He was like kind of contemplating this alliance, and he just mentions that you're the only person that knows in your government that knows the location of the submarine. And he goes, yes. So he immediately just slits Denlinger's throat, and then he takes a step back. And then he says to Paris, he goes, "Why did Ethan Hunt? Why did Ethan Hunt spare your life?" Yeah. And before she can answer, he goes, "Oh, that means you'll also betray me," or something like that. So he goes to try to kill. He goes to try to kill Paris, but she's obviously a better fighter. So she's able to. I think they fight a bit, and then she gets stabbed, but she's able to get away.
Yep, she still gets stabbed, and it's definitely the whole like. For this is what I was talking about. It's like. So because Ethan spared your life, you're going to betray me, not because I'm about to stab you in the chest. Yeah, it's really, like, there's a reason to betray you now.
The chicken or the egg, guys. The chicken or the egg.
Yeah, a little bit.
Schrodinger's cat. Yeah. But so these two, that happens with Denlinger, right? Denlinger, apologize. He dies. And then we have the meeting with Zola, the White Widow, who was actually Grace in disguise, and Kittredge, and they're making their terms. Basically, Grace changes the deal, and she's just like to basically protect herself. Yeah, she's saying I want immunity and things like that, and so he agrees. Kittredge agrees to the deal, and they go to transfer over 100 million, was it?
I think it's like $100 million towards them. Yeah.
And so as that's happening, we see that what's his name? Oh, Ethan is riding a motorcycle to the point where he's supposed to hop on the train. But when he gets there, the train hasn't slowed down because of the fact that Gabriel, once again, and the entity, knowing that they're going to interfere, has the train is moving way faster than it's supposed to around this bend, so he's not able to hop on. Yeah. So now he's telling Benji find me a way on the train. So as Benji's driving, he's in a Tesla or something like that has automated driving. He pops in a passenger seat trying to find out some calculations, and he tells him to ride up to the top of the mountain or whatever.
Quick question:
this cliff.
Why didn't the AI crash Benji's car? Because if he's in a Tesla that's self-driving, one would think the AI could then just go. I just thought of this right now. I was like, he could have crashed his car. I'm like, it's a very lazy AI. Yeah.
Right. It's a very film convenient AI. It's weird.
Sure. It's all powerful, but not. Yeah.
I feel like the AI read the script.
Yeah, that's fair.
Real ChatGPT.
Well, the AI helped write the script for sure.
But yeah, so Benji sends Ethan up to the top of this cliff, and he goes, and it, like right before he gets to the top, Ethan goes, Benji, am I gonna be? I start heading down soon. I said I've just been going up, and Benji goes, I mean,
You
yeah,
could.
you will.
One might say you
And
could, yeah, for
so
sure.
basically, Benji is like, the only way for you to get on the train is for you to jump off this cliff, because you're like he can see the train, right, like further down, but Ethan is like, oh, there's no way I'll be able to parachute off, like get away from the cliff enough to use the parachute. Like I'll just crash into the cliff. And so he rides up to the top of the mountain. So he picks up enough speed using his bike, and it just launches himself off there. And you see this, like this is the big
Yeah.
action set piece, the stunt set piece of this film.
That Tom Cruise did himself.
Um,
Yeah. Which-
Yeah, which was
Great.
just fucking amazing. Yeah. And so he jumps off. He jumps off, and because that's what Benji says. He was just like, "How do you expect me to get down?" He was like, "Well, you got a flight suit on, don't
Parachute,
you?"
right? You're good.
Yeah. And so then we get the huge jump, which was just amazing. And it was, I don't know if you saw it without the CGI and with the CGI, but it was just like terrifying either
Oh yeah,
way.
for sure, absolutely. He literally jumped off a cliff with a bike. Like it might not have been
Yeah.
quite that steep, or the rocks I don't think were that close or something like that. But like,
It was like, it was definitely, there was a ramp.
yes, yeah.
But it was like, he definitely jumped. It was insane. But yeah, so Ethan jumps off the cliff, parachutes down to the train. While this is happening, the deal is done, but Grace, as the White Widow, decides not to take the money. I guess this is her high road or some bullshit like that. So she decides not to take the money. She's just hoping for immunity for herself. And then so she walks away. She tells Zola to stay with. First of all, she gives the key to Kittredge. And at first they didn't think that they had it.
Yeah.
Zola didn't think they had it, but obviously Grace does the old switcheroo. So she gives the keys to Kittredge. He verifies them because he put them together and they light up. And so she gives the keys and she walks away. But before she walks away, she actually pickpockets the keys again.
Yep. Yeah.
Takes them away. And then she walks away. And as she's walking away, the real White Widow, who was knocked out in her cabin or whatever, wakes up. And they're like, holy shit, obviously that was a fake. So Ethan Hunt is here and shit like that. And so as Grace is running away, Zola comes and like fires at her, clears the cabin, and is just like, give me the key. And I think she gives him the key, and then he tells his guy to kill her.
Yeah.
And before the guy can kill her, Ethan just crashes into the
Total accident. Like, after telling her, like, he's like, I'm gonna help keep you safe, all this. No, he just fucked up, but he's really lucked out by being able to somehow rescue her like this. But hey, he did it. He kept his promise.
Yeah. And so he crashes in, saves her. He's able to knock out Zola, get the key. No, before they can get the key, Gabriel comes, takes it.
Yeah.
And then he heads to the top of the train. And then that's when I guess Ethan realizes they were like he realized it before. They was like they had done something. That's why the train hadn't slowed down. So he goes to retrieve the key on top of the train from Gabriel. He tells Grace to go to the front of the train to stop it.
Yeah.
And so we get once again, they keep doing it where it's just like there's so much going on, but it's so easy to follow. It is like the intensity is there, the tension is there. And so Grace gets to the front of the train, but it's locked. She can't she can't access the control room. So she has to climb on the side of the train. On the top of the train, Ethan and Gabriel are fighting. Gabriel, of course, has a knife because he's a dickhead.
Yeah, he's got
Once
multiple
again,
knives. Gabriel's just pulling knives out of his butt. Like Gabriel loses 3 knives and he's like, nope, I got another one.
and this is cool too because it was just like obviously there's a tunnel over. What was that movie? With Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock, the bus.
Speed. Yeah.
It was like on top of the train or whatever. So it was like you have that scene or whatever, and then. Right when Ethan gets the chance to kill, so he gets on, he's punching Gabriel, was about to kill him. He has a knife,
He has a knife
at his
in
neck.
his neck. Yeah.
Yeah, and he has a chance to kill him. But before, yeah, I mean, I couldn't really tell whether he was going to do it or not,
Mhm.
if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, I don't
But
think he was
before
going
he,
for it. Like, I don't think
yeah,
if what's his face didn't come, I think he would have done it.
yeah, if Briggs,
Briggs,
yeah.
yeah,
So Briggs and Degas show up. They hold him at gunpoint, tell him to back away. Um, and Ethan is trying to tell them once again because, like we said earlier, he has had this relationship with Briggs where it's just like, bro, you know, I'm for good. Like, what?
yeah,
If, I know I'm technically rogue
yeah.
to you because obviously, whenever I take these missions, my country disavows me and stuff like that. But you know that I'm
Yeah.
for
One
good.
of the things, like
But before they,
Degas even said earlier, he was just like, "Yo, like, what if Ethan is really doing the right thing?" You know, like he said
yeah,
that they had a whole conversation about that. So yeah,
hmm. And so before they can apprehend either one of, before Briggs can apprehend either one of them, Gabriel looks at his watch and he kind of jumps off the train and just lands in a truck
yeah,
that was just waiting there for him,
yeah.
and he drives off. And then and then he drives off and then sets a timer
Hmm.
for a bomb that's the train is going to be going over a bridge, and he's hoping to just destroy the train now that he has the keys.
Yeah,
Um, and so Ethan is able to convince Briggs. It was just like, like the train is it's a runaway train. We need to get the people. You need to let me go so I can save the people on this train.
yeah.
And so Briggs relents. He tells everybody to get to the back of the train while Ethan and Grace go to stop the train. They're not able to. No, they are. They're not able to stop the train because the controls and stuff like that. But they are able to disconnect the first
Yeah,
car.
that's pulling everything along. Yeah.
Yeah, right before. I mean, it was as they're doing this, the bridge also explodes. Um, oh, and then right before they disconnect the car, Grace is upset because he was like, "It's again, this is my fault."
Yeah.
But Ethan shows that he was able to snatch the keys away from
Yep.
Gabriel while he was like about to stab him.
Hmm.
So it was like at least that part of the mission is
Yeah.
complete.
And Gabriel
Um,
wasn't expecting that one because then it flashes over to Gabriel, and Gabriel's like, "Oh,
yeah, and he's
like,
like text his
yeah."
pocket.
So
Yep,
that's so like Ethan is able to outlive, or
outsmart him.
outsmart the entity and Gabriel here, like when they're all their AI
Hmm.
logarithms, yeah, or
Yeah.
algorithms, yeah.
And so they're able to detach the first car, so the train itself slows down. But because the bridge has collapsed, um, whatever cars kind of tip
Hmm.
over the exploded part of the bridge, they start falling. So you get another action set piece where Ethan and Grace are like running and crawling through different cars that keep falling.
Hmm.
And like we said, it did get a
Get a
little
little long, yeah,
repetitive.
like cut
It
out,
get a little long. It was like four or five, three or four
yeah, like
cars
cut out
or
one of the
something like that.
train
It kept
cars, and it
falling.
would have been great. Just cut out one of them,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Mhm. But yeah, so at the last minute, they're hanging on one of the like in one of the train cars,
hmm,
and as they're about to fall, Paris comes
yeah,
and saves them, and they're able to make it to safety. And then you see Paris. She has been stabbed. She's succumbing to her wounds, and she lets Ethan know because once they still, even at this point, they still don't know the purpose of the damn
hmm,
keys. Um, and so she lets them know that the purpose of the key is to unlock the source code of the AI, and it's on the submarine from the beginning of the movie,
yeah.
right? And then like she dies or she passes out, um, and Briggs and what's his name? Briggs and
Hmm.
Degas are on their way to apprehend them. Like since they saved the train, now they need to apprehend Ethan. But they go to the front of the train, and Ethan sees that Luther had left um, a parachute, just in case, on the train. But he realizes that it's only one,
Hmm.
and that's because of the fact that the plan in general, if the plan would have went like straight, like best case scenario, they would have gotten the keys, gotten the location of whatever they needed to unlock, and then Ethan would have parachuted off the train. Grace would have surrendered to
Hmm.
Kittredge, um, and to clear her name.
Yep. Or to tell him
And so like
that she was given the choice, so she was joining the argument as
yeah.
well. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, so Grace realizes this. Ethan parachutes off the train. Grace kind of holds herself in the way of Briggs from stopping it, and it was just the funniest shit where like Briggs runs to her and mushes the, and I feel like
Wham! I forgot about
I feel
that.
like he wasn't supposed to mush her that hard. It was
Yeah, he knocks the crap out of her.
like,
Like,
he
damn.
pushed her so fucking
Yeah.
hard. But yeah, so like Ethan gets away. Grace meets with Kittredge, and she says, "I chose to accept the mission." So she officially joins the IMF. And then you get this monologue from Kittredge saying that he understands Ethan's mission, but he respects him for taking it. Because I think that's the thing too. Is just like if you choose to accept the mission and you die, your government will
Yeah.
deny the fact that they sent you on
Yeah,
it,
totally.
deny
He's a
the fact
crazy
that
person.
their involvement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like that's why he respects him for taking this mission on. And then we get a shot of the submarine, the sunken submarine from the beginning of the movie. And obviously the next part will be a race to this sub. Because even though Ethan has the key, I think everybody, the submarine is still valuable.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be a race to find out where the fuck it is, and then to get there in time. And that's the end of the
And
movie.
that's the movie. So, thank you so much for listening, everybody. That was the end of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, Part 1. Something we like to do at the end of every podcast is just revisit our original ratings and then see if they change. So, Mike gave it a 4 out of 5. Mike, how are you feeling?
I'm sticking with the
Sticking with
4. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think it'll go in the top 5 movies, my top 5 list of movies for 2023.
Cool.
Obviously, we're only 7 months in, so we got a bit left. But
still.
this was I really, really enjoyed this. The action was great. I think it paced fairly well, even though it was a bit long at the end. It did get kind of long, but it was just like it was action, it was exposition, but it was important exposition, and it was right to action, and it was just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I just really enjoyed it. I'm curious to see where they take this one with the second part.
Cool. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I am going to stick with my ranking of a 3.5. I think it was still a very good action movie. I think you should see it, especially if you like the Mission Impossible movies. I think it's definitely entertaining, and like anyone, you can watch it. Like if you do want to wait until it comes out, cool. Wait till it comes out on streaming, then watch it there. You won't be disappointed from watching it. However, I don't think for me that it did enough to become a 4 out of 5, which is my second highest ranking for movies in general. But still, thought it was very solid. But again, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We really appreciate you. If you'd like to reach out to us, or the Meddling Kids, you can find us at 2meddlingkids on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us at 2meddlingkids@gmail.com. Mike, how can they reach out to you?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Right. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram. And if you'd like to check out my comic stuff, I am hunt.comics on Instagram. But until next time, everybody, we'll see you next week with a brand new movie. Catch you soon.
Bye.
Yeah.